is Grandmaster Stuart Conquest. Stu, how are you doing?
Dan, good evening. Very well, thank you. Nice to see you again. Nice to
Yeah,
see
no, I'll tell you what, it was so successful last time that we had to get you back on
you.
straight away.
Yeah.
Your public demands it, Stu. Your
Ah,
public
well,
demands it.
it's fine. It's okay. It's okay.
You're happy. Yeah,
I'm happy. I'm very happy. I'm
good.
happy.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Well, um, just for those of you who don't know Stuart, of course, English Grandmaster, grew up in Hastings and is has morphed into this great event organizer. Gibraltar was your great triumph, of course, Stu. How many years did you run Gibraltar for?
Well, I mean, I was there from the beginning. I was the commentator, the live commentator for the very first Gibraltar Chess Festival. And then after about maybe 5 years, 5 or 6 years, I was sort of promoted, I suppose, to become Congress director, exactly, festival director, because it was a real festival of events. And yeah, and then I would think I had that position for maybe 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
Um, yeah.
And
So,
I mean, unfortunately, you never invited me. Otherwise,
well,
I'd tell you what a brilliant tournament it was. But everyone used to tell me it's the best tournament in the world, and I never got the. I was waiting for my invitation,
damn,
Stu.
Dan, I don't know what happened there.
I
I
don't know what
can't.
happened.
We'll revisit that one.
That'll be
Come
good.
to Hastings. Come to Hastings.
Well, exactly. Come to Hastings, which brings me on to your current or one of your many roles at the moment, which is, for those that don't know, Stuart is the chairman of the organising committee of the
Correct.
Hastings Congress. I hope I've got your title correct this time.
That's absolutely right. Yes, that's right. Yep. So we have it's the 98th edition of the this very famous, world famous, I think I can say, chess congress, and it's the 28th of December is the first day. That's a Saturday, Saturday 28th of December.
Yeah.
And we have the 9 round Masters tournament begins that day, and also a parallel event of 6 rounds. And then we finish on the Masters finishes on the 3rd of January, which is a Friday. And Sunday, the 5th of December, is the final day because we have a weekend congress which follows the open event.
So,
So
Sunday the 5th of January. Yeah.
is the final day of the whole event. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the main, that's the flagship, the 9 round Masters is of course the main event with all the GMs and IMs and so on. But we have other parallel events going on at the same time with rating ceilings of 3 days, 4 days, 5 days.
Okay.
So
So, lots of
lots going
tournaments.
on.
And to suit players of all ratings and all abilities, and lots of fun
Absolutely.
events as well in the evening and that kind of thing.
Yeah, social stuff. And we already have players from, I think, over 20, yeah, 22, 23 federations already signed up,
Oh,
which is
fantastic.
lovely, Yeah.
Brilliant. And if anyone wants details, then I've got the website address there: www.hastingschess.com. Hastingschess.com for all details.
Correct.
Excellent.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
Stu, okay, I mean, in this broadcast, we want to look at some classic games from Hastings. Last time we looked at one of yours against Formanek in your first ever Hastings tournament.
The
I'm going to
first ever
show
Premier tournament. First Premier
first
tournament.
Premier. I beg your pardon. Of course,
Yeah.
yeah, you played well from in your early junior days, basically.
From the age of 9, I think I played my first one, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Um, I'm going to show. Hopefully, if we've got time, I'm going to show one of my games
Mm.
tonight. Um, my appearance in the Hastings Premier was not really crowned with success. However, I'd really like to show my game against Bareev, who won the tournament that year, and it was an absolutely wild game. So that's on the menu. Um, but I would like to start. Well, we've got some classics as well. Another Capablanca game, which is great. However, I'd like to start, of course, with the big news in the chess world. The World Championship match finished yesterday. So, Stuart, what's your general feeling about the match, about Gukesh winning?
Well, goodness me. Look, I think it's going to be very good for chess, for the chess world, for the publicity of the game, the promotion of the game. I mean, goodness me, what kind of support this young man has from his home country. I mean, absolutely tremendous. Of course, one feels a little sorry, towards Ding, especially with the last game, the way he lost the last game. I guess most neutral spectators or the general public were kind of chess public were looking for a tie-break match, maybe as a sort of exciting finish, given the way that last game was playing out. But as we know now, we were denied that tie-break match, let's say. But you have to say that Gukesh is a worthy winner, I think, and he on balance he played the better chess. And very ambitious. He was pushing in level positions, or even in marginally worse positions. Sometimes he was refusing repetitions of moves, for example. And also Ding had this strange thing down with the clock, the way he used his clock almost
Mm.
every game out of the opening. He was 30, 40 minutes down on the clock. Do you have a view about that? Like the psychology of his approach? A bit strange, yeah?
I mean, I think generally he was still suffering from a lack of confidence.
Hmm.
And I think, I mean, kind of as we know, if we're perhaps haven't been playing for a bit or something, it takes you time to sort of feel your way into games.
Hmm.
And that I think that seemed to show in the early stages where he was just trying to find a position that he was comfortable with.
Even though he had the best possible start to win with
Yeah,
black.
an incredible start. But it's funny, even in that first game, he consumed a lot of time very early on.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then Gukesh, I think he was just a bit too motivated, the wrong word, a bit too gung ho in that first game.
Mm.
He was so pumped up for it that
Yes.
he just went over the top with some of his moves, and so yes, I think once he calmed down after that first game, he was actually okay. So yeah,
Mm.
I think
Mm.
that the time management was certainly an issue, and I think that was a symptom of his lack of confidence. And
It's also down, sorry to interrupt, it's
yeah,
slightly unusual, maybe time control. Is it not that, 40 moves, with no the increment only kicking in after move 40?
yeah, for me that was kind of normal. I mean, they've done that in the World Championship before.
Right.
Um, I don't think that. I mean, for me, that's correct. I don't think there should be an increment before move 40, but I'm a bit old school in that respect. Because I remember in 2018, during the Carlsen Caruana match, that somehow I thought it was too easy for the defence. The clock wasn't used as a weapon, whereas here the clock was very much a part of the match, as it should be. But I think it's
Right.
also right that the 30-second increment comes in after move 40
Mm.
when the players need it. But even then, even with an increment, clearly the clock was an issue. So yeah, I think lack of confidence with Ding. I
Mm.
think Gukesh showed his nerves in many games. I mean, I thought in the penultimate game, on another day of the week, or perhaps any other day of the week, I think Gukesh would have finished that game off.
Yeah,
He
right, game 13, yeah.
Game 13, where,
Mm.
well, perhaps let me try and find it actually, just very quickly. Um,
He was certainly on the brink, Ding, wasn't he?
yeah, so there was this French defence, and I mean, if we look at the two positions with this, I mean, really very poor piece on c8, and this knight, looking to potentially hop in on these squares, and white beautifully centralised.
Mm.
And Gukesh doesn't need to play d5 actually, but I thought it was a very good practical moment to open the position because black's pieces are not very well placed. The natural move is met by queen c6, and that's too really unpleasant. So
Right.
Ding had to play queen e6. It's the black's pieces are very awkward, and I thought it was although the computer isn't that impressed.
Mm.
Actually, I thought it was a really good practical decision because Ding was short of time,
Yes.
and I think it was absolutely right. And again, the computer isn't that impressed by rook e1. The computer thinks in this position that black should just take the queen.
Really? Okay.
Or sack the queen, rather.
Hmm.
But I imagine Ding looked at this position and just thought, well, this is absolutely terrifying. The queen and knight.
It looks horrendous. Yeah.
Yeah, with the knight landing on d6. So I thought that was a really good practical decision. I mean, actually, the computer shows that black can play this. It still looks terrible. And actually, black is holding together after this. And I think queen
Amazing.
c6. Do you play this or something crazy? Or is that
Okay.
too much? Maybe it's not that move. Queen d5 might be very strong there. Yeah, maybe. I mean,
Well, queen d5, then rook d8.
rook d8, rook d8. Is that the move? Wow. Yeah, it's incredible. But I mean, I can understand why both players just thought white must be doing well here.
Yes.
So after this, and here again, I think Gukesh rushed it. I think nerves got to him. You know, this could have been decisive already. He played knight e4, which again just looks complete.
It looks like the move. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like game over actually.
Mm.
And Ding confessed afterwards that he thought he was already lost. His original intention was rook c7, and then realised that this loses to a neat little tactic.
Yes.
But then, instead of rook c7, he found rook f8. And incredibly, black is all right now. It's quite extraordinary. So, knight d6. And it still looks very, very promising for white. But actually, it's not possible to make progress now. And again, Gukesh rushed it, actually. The last chance, he played rook takes, which again, I suppose, you want to keep pieces on the board. But actually, Ding was fine after h6. But if Gukesh had taken a little bit more time, and he had time, actually, in fact, this endgame is still quite unpleasant.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not an easy defence at all with this knight hopping around. So, yeah, I think Gukesh, in spite of his very calm appearance, actually there were moments in the match where he showed nerves. And I think that's why the Ding managed to survive. He survived some very difficult positions. I mean, with incredible tenacity and skill. But yeah, even those games that Ding won, I thought Gukesh's opening choice. I mean, the very first game.
Yeah.
But then the later one, which was, let me see. I don't know if I've got this.
Let's not forget the Ding. Was it 100 games that he went without losing? 100
Absolutely.
competitive games. So
yeah,
he is a great defender.
Yeah, but I thought sometimes, for all his fantastic knowledge of in the opening, and Gukesh was obviously better prepared than Ding, no doubt about that. But sometimes I thought Gukesh actually didn't choose his openings very well. So, for example, here, Gukesh went for d4.
Yeah, because he's a game up. This is the game after he'd won the previous one.
Yeah. And it was... I mean, I think it was just a mistake to go in for this. And somehow Ding found a position that really suited him, and Gukesh kind of lacked a plan here. But, I wonder whether, if we go right back to, this moment, well, is there is it necessary to play d4? Sometimes you just kind of think, well, sometimes okay, just play a mainline Catalan,
Yeah, sure, sure.
and if you know your theory, then it's very hard for White to squeeze anything
Mm.
from that. So
He kind of
yes,
chose a sideline when he absolutely didn't need to, yeah, in a position
mm,
where he's one win up with three to go.
yeah.
Um,
So I thought Gukesh deserved it because Ding just couldn't hold his nerve in that final game.
mm,
I'm not just talking about the blunder. I think Ding, right at an early stage, looking at this position. So basically, I mean, Gukesh should be all right here, but White
oh,
is more than fine. And for example, if White plays this, White is not risking anything at all in this position.
mm,
But Ding obviously decided, right, I'm going to cut to a draw and
yeah,
simplified. I mean,
it was quite
that's
odd.
that's pretty much a forced sequence,
Mm,
and Ding just decided, okay, I'm going to make a draw. But actually, it was difficult to simplify after this one.
right.
So I just thought Ding's approach showed a lack of confidence in not playing that
Hmm.
position on, and just thinking, okay, I want the rapid play, I want the tie break. He's
Yeah.
too eager for it actually.
Mm,
So I think I totally agree with you. I think this was absolutely the right result. Gukesh deserved it,
yeah.
but he certainly didn't play a perfect match. I think his opening choices were sometimes a bit suspect, and he showed nerves at
Mm.
crucial moments. But
Let's not
still,
forget he's 18 years old, Dan. 18.
listen, it's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I'm being very picky, and um, yeah, I'm judging by the highest standards. But he's a world
Mm.
champion, so we
Yeah,
we,
yeah,
we should judge him by high standards.
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, just thinking about the future, um, who do you see as perhaps a main a challenger for Gukesh in the future, in the next
The
few
next cycle
years,
or
the next
oh,
cycle, or just in future?
yeah, I don't know. But one thing I was going to say is that I saw a little clip of Magnus where he said it must have been yesterday, I suppose, that now that he's won the title, Gukesh, this could just be the beginning for him. That he could well establish himself as a
Mm,
permanent number two, or indeed number one. Magnus said, which was quite magnanimous of him,
mm,
in the next year or two, So this because of his youth. And of course, he didn't play a perfect match, as we've been saying, but
mm.
but hey, he can improve. He can improve.
Well,
Um,
actually, thinking about that, I'm thinking back to Kasparov in 1984, and
mm,
he was in the first half of the match. Karpov completely crushed him,
mm.
um, and Kasparov had to learn, and he's the kind of guy that learned very quickly. Well, Gukesh
Yeah.
will learn from this as well.
Mm, mm.
But what about challenges in the future?
Well, I wouldn't. I mean, next cycle or next year until people like Fabiano are very much in the mix for sure.
Mm,
I think. Anyone who hasn't won it yet, I mean, there's going to be super mode for maybe Hikaru. Why not?
mm,
Um, I wouldn't say no to people like that. And the younger brigade, I mean, there's so many people out there, Dan, as well now that the
mm,
high 2700s. Um, they're getting younger and they're getting stronger. So there's a young Turkish player, there's a young Argentine player, there's these kids who are 14, 15 now
mm.
who are achieving tremendous results. So look, if Gukesh can win it at 18, what's to say that his challenger in, you know, 2 years' time maybe isn't of his age now? I mean, it's
Well,
not.
that's true, yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
of the established players, we have Eric Gaisi, who's seems to be breaking
Yes, this is also.
rating
Yeah, yeah.
barriers. I think it's a very interesting call. I mean, that you said about Nakamura. Yeah, maybe he'll
Mm.
think, okay, this is my moment.
This is my
I can take him. I can take the kid.
sort of a
There's
live stream as he's playing or something.
yeah, there's Firuz Jah, there's Abdusatorov. I
Yes.
mean, these are very, very classy players already. Pragnananda.
Yep.
Um, I mean, I would,
Erdogaisi is an interesting one, huh?
yeah,
Erdogaisi,
very.
very interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
he hasn't quite been tested in the top tournaments yet, so that's an
Mm.
interesting one. But I mean, I would love to see, for example, Gukesh against Caruana.
Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, that would be an amazing match.
Mm.
It really
Mm.
would be. So it's very exciting for the future. But listen, let's get back to Hastings. So
Yeah.
let's start. I think I would really like to start with a game that I'd never seen before, and you suggested this, Stu.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so let me just find the game.
I was quite surprised that you hadn't seen the finish before. Maybe not the whole game, but certainly the finish because it's one that's does pop up in tactic books and middle game books.
No,
But
I hadn't seen any of it actually, to be honest.
mm,
Um, so let's talk about the players. So with white, Rafael Vaganian. With black, Albin Planinc. Now, Vaganian.
yes.
Did you ever play against Vaganian?
I have never played him. No. Have I or not? No, I haven't. Did you, Dan? I have never have.
I did. I played him in the Bundesliga
Mm,
when we might have even been playing in the same team.
in the same team.
God, when was that? I can't remember which year. And yeah, I had a really entertaining game with him actually. I've
Mm,
always been a big admirer of Rafael Vaganian. Obviously Armenian, but I think of him as a Soviet player. Of course, in when this game was played in 74, 75, he was a Soviet player.
mm.
And Albin Planinc. Now
No, I
he's
think I'm pretty sure he was Slovenian. Um, and that's, I don't know much more about him, except that he has a number of very tactical, and entertaining games
hmm.
sprinkled throughout his career, I think. So he's that kind of sharp, double-edged player whose games are well worth having a look at.
Well, as is
But I don't think he didn't break into the top stardom, did he, of world
no,
chess?
but as is Vaganian, of course. He's has
Right.
some extraordinary games. So this is a bit of a treat. So let's go through. So d4 from Vaganian. And an invitation to some kind of Benoni, maybe, or possibly
Yeah,
a Benko,
all the banker,
but no.
which he avoids. Takes. Okay.
So the early development of the bishop and knight b5, possibly going into d6,
Yeah.
and we have a3. And you see, I would look at this position and think, oh, well, white's better.
Mm.
I like my bishops.
You like your
I
bishops.
do. However, not so clear.
Well, black has a little bit of development, of course, and he has the center, d5. And interesting choice now, Dan, from white.
Yeah, bishop g5. So Vaganian plays in a very direct way, just wanting to put pressure on d5. I mean, as an alternative, I suppose we could just go e3.
Mm. Sure.
But then, yeah, maybe just knight c6 and d4 or something like that.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
think so.
listen, let's crack on with the game because this is obviously critical because Planinc.
Well, white grabs a hot pawn. He grabs a
Yeah,
pawn here.
exactly. So queen takes d5. Right. So what's black got for the pawn?
Well, he needs to develop. He can take the open file with his rook. I think he maybe does that.
Yep. So rook d8 played. Yeah, I mean this is the difference between the two sides, of course. That white's pieces need to come out on the king side. The king is a long way from reaching safety. It's not going to be possible to castle on the queen side.
It reminds me down a little bit of some lines, just in general, of the Queen C2 Nimzo Indian, where
Oh,
again white has the two bishops, and black sometimes gives a pawn up. in return for a lead in development, as we see here.
Right. Okay, so Queen F3. So obviously Vaganian would be very happy to exchange
Yeah.
queens with an extra pawn, and Planinc avoids that with Queen B6, which looks very natural.
Hmm.
So hitting this one, actually, this is already quite problematic, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'd love to castle queenside here.
Mm.
And yes, I mean, a move like B4 feels incredibly loose with this knight sort of dangling around. So,
He finds quite a remarkable solution actually here. Trades a pair of rooks.
yeah, so obviously Queen B2, Rook D8. So. And the knight
And
protects B2.
defense B2. How about that? Yeah. But look at White's development.
Yeah.
And his king, moreover. His king is the problem, isn't it?
I mean, Vaganian certainly was the kind of player that was used to taking risks. But, I mean, would you ever take a pawn like that, Stu?
Well,
Yeah, yeah, I've done
yeah,
it loads of times.
yeah. I mean, look, maybe at the time, and what is this, 1974, 5, maybe this was sort of theory. I mean, not now, but, some moves ago, Bishop G5, take on F6, maybe was some sort of developing theory in this line. I don't know. But here, for example, you'd think E3 down, as White, you'd play E2, E3 without much thought, right?
Yeah. And, well, in
Develop the
fact,
bishop.
this has actually been played in a game. And, yeah, Ullmann played like this with White. And the game went like this.
Oh,
And, well, Black was already better because, this pawn looks very loose. I mean, all of Black's pieces look wonderful, actually. I love the bishop on E6. It just kind of, anchored to F7. Yeah, it looks dreadful. And indeed, Ullmann against Barcha, Havana 63. So there we go. But okay, B4 looks strange. So castles instead, and well, obviously,
okay. Black's doing fine. I mean, goodness me.
Yeah, very nice compensation. But instead of E3, which at least allows White to castle, Vaganian played Queen E3.
I guess he's going to play G3 and Bishop G2, given time.
Does he have time?
He doesn't. He doesn't have time for that.
With a big threat.
Yes.
And Queen E8
So he checks, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now E3.
He must have foreseen this, and thought he was sort of okay.
Well, perhaps Vaganian had reached this point in his calculation and thought this must be okay, but...
And he's got Bishop D3 coming if he needs it.
Yeah. But the next move...
So this is the key moment.
Yeah, I mean, this is... Now it really starts to kick off.
You could ask your viewers, Danny, what they would play here as Black.
Yeah. We're not getting much of a response here. Yeah, I mean, in fact, Queen D6 apparently is also possible. But, well, let's just go with the game because this is just fantastic. So Bishop F5, sacking the rook. So this is, it's like Anderson Kieseritzky. Well, not not really, but giving up a rook in the corner. So basically, White is a rook up, but now Black kind of has a free hit against the queen, against the king. Sorry, check. And King C1 played. This I can see some annotations here by Rainer Knark, who gives some long variations after King C3, and apparently also better for Black. I think I think this next move is really stunning, actually.
Mm, mm.
By the way, I mean, when was the first Hastings that you visited? Which year?
It was 1976-7.
Okay, so you just missed this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
I'm pretty sure
That's right,
Vaganian
yeah.
won this year, actually, in 74, 75.
Okay, I can look that up quickly. He may have done, yeah.
Well, anyway,
Shall I
Black's
check?
next move. Yeah,
Hmm.
please do. Knight
No,
A1.
he didn't. It looks like he didn't. No, he didn't win.
Wow. Who won
Like
it?
Hort and Janowski won in 1974.
Sorry, who and Janovsky?
Hort, Vlasti Hort, and Janowski.
Really? Wow.
Surprising, yeah.
Janovsky. So was he from Canada?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Knight A1 anyway.
Threatening, checkmate in one move.
What a beautiful move. Yeah. The king cut. This bishop slicing down the board. And now queen takes B7 was played.
No, that is not the best move.
That is not the best move. We'll come on to what might be the best move, or is definitely the best move. And now a brilliant finish from. Oh well, before we get on to that, come on, let's just have a look at this. So bishop c4 is a better move, and okay, it still looks pretty desperate. I mean, I want to bring the rook into play, but that would seal the deal. That's actually checkmate. So queen d8 is apparently the only move.
Okay.
Because I guess there was a threat to check and then probably check on the d file. So that covers queen g4. I'm just playing through some analysis from Rainer Knark. Okay, so that threatens checkmate here, sort of.
But White's fighting, huh?
Yeah,
Just about.
I suppose so. Right. I mean, and apparently, this is judged to be better for black. I mean, if white could castle, it would be a different matter. But basically, I suppose the problem is this rook just takes far too long to come into the game, and the king is covered. And I guess this b pawn is probably quite quick.
Right.
So apparently, this is winning for black. But okay, I mean, that was a very tricky variation. But talk me through the game. Queen takes b7. Black to play and win.
What was Vaganian expecting here? I mean,
Time pressure? I don't know. Who knows?
Beautiful finish here.
Okay, let's see it.
I guess there's two moves here, Dan. You could choose.
I suppose there
Queen
is
c7,
actually.
yeah.
So
Queen c6, I guess, did the job as well.
so that's checkmate, which is pretty
Look
spectacular.
at that.
And yeah, as you say, I guess that's exactly the same. What about queen c5? No.
The prosaic Queen c5. Well, the knight c3, of course. Then white can block.
Knight c3.
And you get the d1 square, so that's not the same. Yeah.
It's not the same. Can I still checkmate? Hang on.
And the queen, anyway, the queen covers now. So.
Oh, there you go. How to blow a one position. Yeah, we'll stick with the game continuation, and that is a fantastic finish.
What a picture that is! A postcard finish or something like that. You could say. Amazing.
Definitely. Yeah, wonderful stuff. So that was Vaganian.
Played at Hastings, Dan. Played at Hastings.
Yeah, let me just have a quick recap for anyone just joining us. So, my guest tonight is Grandmaster Stuart Conquest, who is the chairman of the organising committee of the Hastings Congress. And if you want to check out all the events taking place there at the end of December, beginning of January, please check out the website hastingschess.com. Right, Stuart, where are we heading next?
Yes. Okay, well.
Where should we go?
Far away. Far away. What about your game, Dan? This is your game. Do you want to show us a game of yours?
Oh, yes. So, I should say that I've only played once in the Hastings Premier. And it was pretty disastrous. I played really poorly. Let me just find the game. But I would like to show everyone one of the games I played, which was against Yevgeny Bareev, who was the winner that year. Just flicking through these World Championship games. Let me find my game.
And by the way, Dan, he also won, I checked, he won the 2 subsequent editions as well. So this was, he won 3 times in a row, beginning with this year that you played him.
Okay, so I set him off on a very good run. He was emboldened. Yeah, I mean, this was played in round 3. I think I'd lost my first 2 games, actually. So this was my 3 in a row, which was a bit sad. Or did I draw round 2? Anyway, I can't remember. It was a really poor start. It was a poor start, a mediocre finish, a mediocre middle, and a poor finish. That was my Hastings. So here we go. So I was white, but actually I thought this was a fantastic game. I thought it was really entertaining. So I was white. I wheeled out the English. And do you have any experience with this variation, Queen C2?
Well, I have played it, I mean, a few times, but not in a few years, let's be honest.
Well, me neither.
Yeah.
So,
actually, I see your ratings were quite close at the time, Dan. You were 2,560 and Yevgeny was 2,590.
Yes, it was a watershed moment for both of us. I slipped down off the peak and he kept going up. But I seem to remember kind of catching him in this line, because I mean, basically in this position, the best move is to take on c3. And after queen c3, queen e7.
Very solid.
d5, and you recapture with the knight. So black regains some time by taking on d5 with the knight, and actually black is fine in that position. So that's quite a lot of games played in that. And I've played that a few times with white, actually. But he played castles, and I mean, this is still fine for black, but after knight d5 it starts to get a bit tricky, actually. I mean, already white can contemplate moves like knight g5 with, some kind of very crude attack on h7. So that's why he played h6. So I pushed the bishop and played b4. So I, wanted to bring the bishop, and he took knight e7. Now there's no need to defend that pawn. I played bishop b2, and he took. Of course, so I can just take on e5, and I think it's okay for white. But I played bishop c4, as you do. And the knight went back. But see, I was really pleased to see that. I assumed that he was just going to put the knight back on the king's side. And he played this just to protect his e-pawn. So, he wants to protect his extra pawn. I mean, I thought that he would compromise and play like this. And and take, and, the game goes on. But I was amazed that he decided that he wanted to. I mean, I wanted to keep my bishop, so I got 2 nice bishops.
Of course,
he did this in order to keep his extra pawn. But I thought, wow, the knight is really sidelined, and that gives me the opportunity.
And look at his bishop on c8. I mean, it's
exactly. I just thought this is a really. I was amazed that he played like this, actually. So, Stuart, I don't know if you can see my next move. I'm
trying not to look. I'm imagining things like h4 or queen g6, these kind of moves,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't go h4. However, I did go not Harry, but
g4.
Gary. Yeah. I mean, it just seemed like such an invitation with the pawn on h6, just to crack things open.
It's funny, Dan, after all these years, you still remember, you still must have the sort of take yourself back in time to how you felt as you played this move, as you played knight b6, that kind of fresh feelings still.
I mean, obviously, I can't remember everything, but I mean, I do. This was such a memorable game because it was such an exciting game,
Mm.
and I do remember certain things about it. Absolutely. Now I'll tell you a bit more later, actually, the stuff I remember. But yeah, I do remember being amazed that he wanted to keep this extra pawn because it seemed to me this just gave me a fantastic attack.
Yes.
And actually, I mean, I was right.
Mm.
It is a fantastic attack. So he played e4. Right, what now?
I don't know. You're going to tell me you did something like G5, you sacrificed the knight or
Of
something?
course I played
Did you?
g5.
Oh my goodness. Did you really?
This should have been my immortal game. It should have been my evergreen, as it
I
was.
think we should publish this diagram on the Hastings Chess Congress website.
No! No, please no. Unfortunately, it's just it did. Yeah, it's not an evergreen. It just went in the compost bin. Okay,
Wow.
so he took on g5. Now, the big question is, what happens on pawn takes knight? What can white play?
Well, I can see an interesting move, which I mentioned before, I think.
I mean, looking
Should
at
I
this,
say?
sorry, yeah, please.
Well, I'm looking at Queen G6.
Of course,
Is it
Queen
too good to be true?
G6. It's not. I mean, look, this is why I got the bishop out. That's why I sacked the pawn. Look at those bishops.
Hmm.
So obviously there's the pin. I'm threatening mate. So, I mean, there isn't really another move. I'm also threatening f7. So, this didn't happen, unfortunately. Takes here. So the pressure is building. Takes. Rook g1. I mean, this is smooth. I can just... Here. Bishop b1.
Oh, beautiful. That's a lovely move. Bishop B1.
Now,
Yeah.
don't take the queen. So the queen moves and I play queen h8. I mean, of course, he can give the queen.
Of course, yeah.
But this one won't last too long. Okay, so... I mean, that's all completely forced. I mean, black is playing only moves. So I played g5 and he took.
He took on G5.
He took on g5. This is the game continuation. Now what?
Well, I take it you didn't move the knight.
Maybe I should have moved the knight.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously h4.
H4, okay.
So with similar business to, pawn takes knight, I imagine queen g6 must be, or yeah, maybe taking on g5, it must be winning. So this, yeah, queen g6 is just crushing. Okay, so
same thing.
bishop e7.
It just looks terrible for black. It looks so bad.
It is completely lost. How did I not finish? Right. At this moment, I must have lost my senses. What next? This should have been my crowning moment.
Right, okay.
I suspect there's more than one way to play this. Well, what's your feeling?
Yeah, feeling is well, he's going to play d5 next and kind of block you out there. If you play h takes g5, so he's going to go d5, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
Um,
And
so,
queen e4, d5 blocks out one of the bishops.
So I don't know whether you should sacrifice bishop f7 and knight e5 check
Ooh,
or something like that. I don't know.
also very tempting. Yeah. Well, I played queen e4.
Okay,
I mean, it looks great,
it does.
but actually after this, It's actually not so clear,
Mm,
incredibly.
mm,
I just assumed that, there would be a knockout here, but actually there
right.
isn't. Because I thought this looked fantastic.
Still looks brilliant, yeah.
Actually, after F5,
Hmm.
I couldn't find anything. However, if we come
Amazing.
back to yeah,
Amazing.
it just looked. However, I can take on G5 or play knight E5, but let's go with we'll take here. This is winning.
Okay, threatening G6 or
Okay, so
Queen E4.
he blocks out with D5.
Yeah.
Simple move. I mean, I
Okay.
think this is hard to see because it seems clearer to remove the E pawn.
Oh, you're threatening Rook H8 check. Is that the point?
Brilliant.
That's the point.
Well done, Stu.
That's the point.
That is the threat to play Rook
Mm.
H8. So yeah, Bishop G5, Rook H8, game over.
That's nice.
So
Nice.
that's why Bishop E6 is necessary. And now, but you can understand why I would probably, one would reject this line.
Mm.
But actually, this is completely winning.
Is it something like Queen D1 to come around the
Queen
side?
D1. And if G6,
Wow. There must be knight somewhere. Rook H8
maybe
mate.
just
Eh?
G6.
But you have discovered checks, eh? Knight somewhere, a mate on H8.
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe something even quite flashy.
Mm.
Beautiful move. Yeah.
Knight
So,
C6.
what about taking here? So Queen H5, Bishop
Well,
H6. I mean, looks. It's on the edge, isn't it?
on the edge, but that's right.
Maybe okay. I don't know. But there's something
missed
that's absolutely devastating.
G6 maybe?
G6 also looks terrifying. I mean, I suppose F5.
I was trying to play G6, and if F takes G6, Queen takes E4. That was my idea. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you're moving along the right lines. Well done.
Hmm.
Okay, shall I show you? Because you're
Show me,
almost
please.
there.
Oh, hang on. Don't tell me. Don't tell me you can play Queen E4, D4, Knight G6.
Well done. Well
Goodness
done.
me.
Okay, so Queen E4, threatening mate in 2. And if this, well done. You spotted it.
Wow.
Knight G6.
I think it's the greatest combination I've ever seen in my life. It's incredible, Dan. It's a stunner.
I could have
stunner.
been my immortal. It could have been
is
me.
This is your Vaganian Planinc game, you know?
It is.
This is it. Yeah.
So, threat Rook H8, and if takes, and
Amazing.
gold coins, photographers, beautiful women clustering around the board. Oh dear. Could have been
so
me, Stu.
close.
Could have been
So
me.
close.
So instead of that,
Tragic.
yeah,
Tragic.
tragic is the word. So, I mean, it's funny, just optically, Queen E4 just looks crushing, doesn't it? But in fact, you could also play Knight E5 first, it comes to the same thing. But yes, I think that's the thing. This is the threat.
That's nice. It's right.
And
So it's not immediately obvious because it doesn't depend on the bishops. It's a different tactic, isn't it?
Yeah. And there is absolutely no defense there. It's just amazing. But let me show you just the rest of the game. It kind of loses its interest after that, really, because after this, actually, black is okay here. But it's still, I still thought, well, I'm hacking on. And it's still quite unclear, actually. And both of us made errors. But I thought, I've still got some kind of attack here. But he defended extremely well, I have to say. Even here, I thought, the knight's good. His king's perhaps a little bit exposed, but actually that pawn does a good job. Good manoeuvre. Bring the knight round to defend the king side. You know, that was
Sure.
classy.
Hmm.
And actually, you know, by this stage he's threatening to take here, and
Yep.
even here it's not so clear, but he played very well. And inevitably, we had a ludicrous time scramble.
Hmm.
And actually, one thing I remember was that the time control was 40 in 2 hours.
Right.
And at some moments, I'd stop recording, as had he. You know, we were really short of time. I mean, you can imagine with the complications we had to play through here. And at this moment, he just stopped. And very often, as you'll know very well, you know, you're not, when you're blitzing, you're not quite sure of how many moves you've made.
Precisely, yeah.
I mean, I wasn't recording, he wasn't recording. And he looked up, and above us, there was a TV screen with the move numbers on it.
Oh no!
And it just hadn't, I mean, how dumb was I? He just looked up at the screen and saw he made 40 moves and then stopped.
Yeah.
Whereas
And
I
then
was
his time ran
still
out.
blitzing away. And actually, you know, the position's still quite unclear. But at this moment, he just stopped and calmed down. He thought for about 15 minutes and just calculated everything out. And he realised after some calculation that this is actually winning for black if you play precisely.
Okay.
But it was just a funny moment where I just thought, oh God, of course. Just stop and look at the TV screen. I mean, I don't know. Would they do that now? Not now.
I don't know actually, because it's giving information, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know.
Anyway,
So,
the game ended
for example,
like this. Sorry, go on.
I mean, in the World Championship match just finished, I mean, they had no increment, as we just discussed earlier, before move 40. So, I imagine there was no way for the players to know when they'd made move 40 if they weren't writing moves down, although I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Anyway, his technique was perfect. He'd calculated this all out. But I thought it was really impressive that he stopped and he didn't rush his moves after the time control, you know, because obviously he had more time. And he thought for, I think it was about 15 minutes. And just...
Respect, Dan. That's also respect for the opponent.
I'm afraid he'd learnt he didn't need to show me any respect at all. And he
But
just
that really was beautiful. I mean, I'm sorry you didn't play it because it was such a nice. But could I ask, did you analyze with Yevgeny afterwards? Is that where some of these variations sort of were discovered in the post-game analysis?
No.
Or was it later on?
It was subsequently with flicking a button.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in 1990, 91.
Well, much later on. I mean, to be honest, I just assigned this game to the rubbish heap. Just very quickly, just let me show the finish, because here I resigned. Because there's simply no defense to G2 and rook here, and then the pawn goes home. So, for example, here, let me see, A2. And, well, I mean, obviously the rook, the king can't get involved, and the rook just comes to F1. There's absolutely no defense. Yeah, likewise here, and G2. So, yeah, his technique was perfect, actually. But, yeah, that was my moment. That was my immortal in this position. This, and I think, you know, obviously I mean, I can't remember my exact thought process at the time. I just dismissed this one, basically.
Yeah.
And that's why I went for that, which optically looks great, but actually, afraid not so good. Right, where should we turn next?
You still lie awake at night, Dan, do you, thinking about that game?
Sleepless nights. Sleepless nights. Okay, we need to have a classic now. Yes.
Classic.
I wanted to show you, I wanted to look at this game, William Winter against...
yes, Kappa.
Jose Raul Capablanca. And this is a classic. So this was from the Hastings 1919 tournament.
I think you went past it, Dan, maybe, no?
Oh, I've got it now. Got it now.
Here we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hastings 1919. So this is the so-called Victory Congress
Hmm.
in 1919 that Capablanca won very convincingly, and he's playing against William Winter, who was an English professional. That's a very interesting character.
Hmm.
Um, but Stuart, do you know this game?
I have seen it, yeah, many, many years ago, Dan, many years ago now. So it's nice to see it again.
Okay, here we go. And something quite interesting about this, because it was always hailed as a model performance from Capablanca, but actually there've been subsequently in recent years it's been found that in fact Winter could have defended.
Hmm.
So four knights, and
Okay.
Winter plays in quite a drive. In fact, Capablanca used to play in this way sometimes with white, just
That's
getting
right,
this
yes.
very fixed pawn structure. Do you ever find yourself on either side of this kind of position?
Well, occasionally as of white, I've doubled with the four knights. Yeah, sometimes if somebody plays the Petrov, you might play three knights c3, those kind of things, but not with any theoretical knowledge.
Right. So Bishop G5. So this was subsequently criticised by a lot of commentators, but I think that's
Hmm.
said with a lot of hindsight somehow. Um, I mean, what if you had this position with white? What would you be thinking?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I might put the bishop on the queen side with b3, bishop b2. Think about that, maybe.
Right.
Um, you know, um, Maybe I'd play a move like h3 just to stop bishop g4. I don't know. And I mean, black's going to play c5 next as well, right?
Yeah.
I suppose.
I
Yeah,
mean,
those
one.
kinds of moves, maybe.
I mean, it's been mentioned this kind of plan, putting the knight on e2, h3 and
Mm.
g4, and putting the knight on g3. I think that's quite an interesting option. I mean,
All right.
it
Okay.
would be nice to get in f4, of course,
Yes.
to knock out this centre pawn and give white a nice pawn chain in the middle. I mean, those are strategically, those are the typical ways for white to play. There's this famous game, Capablanca Janovsky, with this fantastic double rook endgame, which actually I looked with Alex Cholovic. Um, he has brought out this book on Kappa's endgames.
Mm.
And yeah, that's a wonderful game actually. But anyway, Winter plays Bishop G5, which kind of looks normal, doesn't it?
It doesn't look like it's a mistake.
Mm. But after this,
Hmm.
so Kappa plays C5,
Right.
which of course clamps D4,
Yep.
and Winter now plays Knight D5, and this is a mistake. I mean, it's been, some have suggested Knight D2, and this does look like a better idea.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Perhaps to bring the knight here to E3. But anyway, Knight D5 played. Right, and here is where Kappa plays this. I mean, now I was going to say surprising. It doesn't seem so surprising now,
Mm.
but perhaps in those days it was surprising. So black to play G5. Right. I mean, the obvious move
I mean, see,
is to play Knight G5.
yeah,
However,
knight 65, right?
Knight D5, of course. Yeah,
Mm.
that's the issue. So pawn takes knight, and then that's a very good piece. So Winter played knight takes, and Kappa played bishop G4.
Yeah, that is the key move, isn't it? Bishop G. Otherwise, white would play knight D2 next down. And who knows? It's certainly reasonable for white. I think.
Yeah, it must be okay if the bishop can slip away. But yeah, g4, bishop g4 is the key move. So
Yeah.
h3.
This is the trouble. And look at White's bishop on g3.
It's just not coming out because there's just no way to connect with the other side of the board. Not that this bishop can be trapped, but it's just kind of stuck. Funny thing is, this bishop also isn't great. But it's a bit more useful than the other one.
Mm.
So the general strategy now is to try and hold the king side, and black will try to open up the queen side, basically. So let's see how things went. So f6. Okay. That's just solidifying everything.
I mean, what can White do? White just has to sit there, right? And just sort of see where black's coming from.
Yeah. Well, I'll come back to this position because Kasparov found something very interesting here. But let's just see exactly what happens in the game. So Winter opened the H file, but actually doesn't really help that much. Okay, now he cracked things open.
Okay. Mm.
And now Kappa found a very good move. I mean, obviously, if this is taken or b4 and the position closes, then black is not going to make progress. But I guess that Winter had underestimated this move.
Mm. Yeah.
So if that's taken, then basically black is breaking through. So takes.
Sure.
And
this is the game, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, this is the game. So this is basically just gone. Okay, he's almost got that bishop into the game. But here, Winter resigned.
The pass A pawn.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Mm.
And yeah, this one just remains completely shut out of play. So that's basically the difference between the two sides. But okay, so this is a classic, and I'm sure many of our viewers will have seen that one before. But if we come back here, Kasparov actually annotated this in his book, My Great Predecessors. And he points out that in fact White should still hold this position. It's
okay.
It's really interesting. So c4.
I was thinking about that.
So black needs to break open the position. So c6.
c6. Yep.
Now, here's the key moment. How should White defend this one? I mean, this is not at all obvious. And you know, White has to get it just right. And I think the thing is, in this kind of position, the way that Winter did it, in some ways, I mean, I would look at this and think, yeah, this is kind of quite a natural way to play because you want to put pressure.
Oh, the way he did, yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's probably easy to overlook a move like this, which is why, you know, you'd go with, you know, something else. But I think that move is quite tricky to see because, you know, it does give black the chance to play definitely open a file with c6 and b5.
Yep.
Okay, so the move for White is this. I would say also not an obvious move. So
B3. All right.
so black seems like he's making progress here.
Hmm.
But now,
It's a kind of a fortress, is it?
exactly. So rook c3.
Yeah.
So rook b6.
Hmm.
Okay. We'll move the king across. I mean,
Okay.
if the king can reach here, that's good news.
Hmm. Hmm.
B takes c4. D takes. Don't allow the rook in.
Right.
Rook here. Now,
And just defend.
very important move.
Ah, which way do you defend? Of course.
How does white defend the
Hmm.
pawn?
Yeah.
What's your move, Stu? It's
Sorry,
50.
rook A3. I'm defending on third.
Exactly.
On the third.
And that holds the game. And the point is
Hmm.
that rook b1, no good because rook b4. And this, of course, as I'm
Yeah.
sure our viewers know, the classic way to break.
Although even there, Dan, let's say you that one blunder with rook B1. Here, could one not play rook D1 and try to defend on rook D3, you know?
Right. So king e7, rook d3, rook d8. Yeah. Or do
And
you
just
play
hold.
bishop e7?
Then rook up, rook to
Oh, you've
D3.
got rook d3, of course.
Hmm.
Yeah. So maybe I've mistimed it. Maybe. Do you play king e6 first?
Ah, yes. That's an important detail. That's right. That's right. And then rook B4. Interesting.
Does that work? So rook
Very
here.
good. Yeah, I think it does.
Probably we have to play this one first. I think.
No, but then you can play rook B4. I think you don't. You could play. Oh, I see. Also,
there's
bishop
rook,
B7. Yes.
yeah. So
Yeah,
here
and then rook B4.
and then rook b4.
Hmm.
Yeah. The devil's in
Yeah.
the
Well
detail.
done. Yeah.
However, rook
The rook A3 is the move.
That
Yeah.
is the move.
Great.
And if we play rook b8 first, with the idea of rook
We
a3.
don't play rook A3.
Very nice. However, here it doesn't work. Because we can take.
We can just take, can we?
And actually, that's okay for white. Even though, I suppose, black can break through, but it's
Yeah, and the king is a curse. Yeah.
yeah, it's actually, oh, is this tricky? I don't know. Can you try and win this one?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But maybe the rook comes in. I don't know. It's still, it's still a little bit in the balance. Or maybe even, can you try and... I was going to say attack the king, but probably that bishop... I was thinking of something like this. But actually, the rooks actually don't do anything because there's the bishop actually finds a point. And then, then white goes active.
Interesting. Still,
yeah, I mean, it seems to me there are still a few wrinkles there, actually, to sort out. But it does look like the best chance to make a draw.
very nice.
So, yeah, it's in fact, the game wasn't as clear as, everyone
Clear
imagined.
cut is, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting that Gary would choose that game as one of the ones in his great series of books,
Well, I think
This
it's,
one.
it's one of Capablanca's kind of classics, and it showed that he was so much further ahead than a lot of players in terms of strategy, basically, So.
And by the way, Dan, if I can just,
Yeah.
I know you spoke about this book last time.
Yes,
It's
of
also
course.
in this book.
Yes. The Chess
The
Battles of
Chess Battles of
Hastings.
Hastings.
And you've written a foreword
It's
for
one
that
of the
one.
featured games. Yeah, it's one of the featured games
one
in
of the
that
games
great
there.
book.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, for those that have joined late, I should say that my guest is Grandmaster Stuart Conquest, who is the chairman of the events committee or the organising committee of the Hastings Chess Congress. And if you want to check out hastingschess.com, then you can find all the events that are taking place in the Hastings tournament, which takes place from, Stuart gives the
From
dates.
the 28th of December, so just a couple of days after Christmas, from the 28th to the 5th of January 2025. So it's the end of one year, the start of the new year, of course.
And
And yeah,
what kind of entries are in the top tournaments?
yeah, I think we've got 95 or so entries already in the top group, which is great.
Great.
We have some strong Chinese players coming. A young man who's 2,500 plus coming with his father. We have a GM who's so 25, 50, 60 kind of strength. And we have some strong French players, a Swedish young man. So we have, I think, 6 GMs at the moment confirmed, with others I'm expecting to add in the coming days. Lots of young, strong English and or British junior players coming as well. So, of course, one of the things we like to see is people trying to get norms, IM norms and GM norms. So last year, Shreyas is playing. Shreyas
Oh,
Rowan is playing.
Stress Royal.
Yeah, Shreyas is playing. He's a top English player for now. And last year, he was one game away down from securing his Grandmaster, well, his third norm and title at Hastings.
But he has
He
that
needed
now.
the last round, and he very nearly did, but the game finished a draw.
Okay,
He's a
but
GM now, of course.
as we know, yeah, he's
Yeah,
England's youngest Grandmaster. Well, that's great. So he's
yeah,
going to be playing. Okay,
he's playing as
I
well.
think that's brilliant. Following
Yeah,
in a great tradition
yeah.
of Hastings
So,
tournaments. So that's really good news. Okay,
and
fantastic.
on just the latest player to sign up for the top players is, as of earlier today, is Iceland's number one. Vignir Stefansson has told
Oh,
me he's coming. So
fantastic.
how about that? Yeah,
Okay, all right. So things are building nicely for the
things
tournament.
are building up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. And are you when will you be heading down there, or are you making trips already down there, or are you
Well, I think I just need to be there on the 27th, the day before,
right?
in order to make sure everything is set up, help with the setting up,
Yeah,
and just cover all the bases really.
right. Fantastic.
Yeah. So Dan, if you want to come down to Hastings, my friend, you're warmly welcome.
I would love to. We should discuss that. It would
We
be nice.
discuss it. Yeah.
Perhaps do a power play video
Hey,
from Hastings.
beautiful.
It would be great.
Music to my ears.
Oh golly.
Hmm.
All right, Stu.
But
Well, I think I don't know if there's is there anything else you want to cover on this broadcast, or are we?
I think probably that's fine for now. Just to say, like I said, just a final plug that Hastings, with taking entries to all events still,
Yeah.
doesn't matter what somebody's rating is, if they're a beginner more or less, or a club player, or a title player, or a professional. I mean, we have tournaments, all shapes and sizes. And as I say, everyone is certainly very, very welcome. And it's, Hastings, it still has a renown, a long and valued tradition. And I think it's one of the tournaments that people ought to try to come to at least once, as you did, Dan, yourself, back in the day.
You don't have to play as badly as I did. But anyway, I still have fond memories of
Hmm.
playing in that Hastings tournament. Yeah, I mean, just to say that I've played there is a big deal. Um,
Sure.
I did I did win a couple of games, I think.
Did you not beat the great Bent Larson, Dan?
I did beat Bent. I
Hmm.
did in the end. I got one. Yeah, maybe we'll look at that another time. But anyway, Stuart, thanks very much for joining me.
Hmm.
And just a reminder, the website hastingschess.com, and you can find all the details. And Stu will be ready to take your entry
Hmm.
as
Absolutely.
soon
In
as you
person.
click through on that website. Fantastic,
I'm
Stu.
just also, Dan, just
Go
very
on.
quickly,
Yeah.
sorry, just to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Kaplan.
Oh yes.
Kaplan Systems Limited, who have stuck by us. Once again, we're very, very grateful to them, and to Mr. John Ashworth, who's the CEO, who's his personal, lover of chess. And so we're very, very grateful, John, and to him and to Kaplan for sponsoring this event, as well as the ECF, English Chess Federation, who are also helping out. So we look forward to seeing as many of you there as possible.
Fantastic. Thanks,
Thank you.
Stu. And thanks everyone for joining us. See you later. Bye now.
Thanks.